Well, hello, friends, and thank you for joining us for another episode of What's Going On here at Swagger, where we check in and find out what's going on. I am your host, Jim Cares, and today we welcome Dr. LaKeisha. And friends, I will do like a little bit of her bio. I'm just going to let you know that she's international menopause whisperer, and I have many questions, so I just need to get right to it. Is that okay, friend? She ready. So how you doing today, Dr. LaKeisha?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me today. I am so excited to be here. And just so you know, Jen, this is a topic that I love to go on and on and on about. So you're going to have to tell me time out, it's time to go, cut it, take me off the side, exit stage right, all the ththings.
Gotcha. So because we probably need to hear all these answers, we're probably going to let you go.
Okay.
And it's funny. When I was reading over, your information and things like that, and I saw the debunking 3 big myths about the pause. This isn't your mama's menopause. I was like, we gotta have this conversation because I don't want what the mamas had because it don't seem like it's good. And I guess we have to talk about it because it's going to happen, and we have to be prepared. And since you're a whisperer, maybe you could whisper and tell it not to come by my house.
I wish I could do that for you. I really do. But what I can do is give you some tools so that you can glide and not slam into the pause. How about that?
Okay. We'll take that. So before we get started, we like to let people know that we got professionals over here. So can you tell us who is Dr. LaKeisha?
Oh my goodness, Dr. LaKeisha, that is such a great question, I tell you. But I tell people all the time, if you were to look at my highlight reel, right? It called the highlight reel. I said, you would see Dr. LaKeisha sitting at home one Saturday night, just minding her business, hanging out with her boo, and we're looking at TV, and all of a sudden my messages start dinging, ding, ding. Like, what? And one of them is my girl. She's like, ma'am, do you have something that you need to tell us? Like, what did you forget to tell us something? And I'm like, what is going on? And then she sends me a picture that her mother took of me on screen on the OWN network. And I'm like, oh, I kind of forgot about this, right? Okay. And, now I'm like this international menopause whisperer being featured on the OWN network as your menopause expert. But it didn't always start that way, Jen. Okay. So is this a space where we can be transparent and real? Can I share my story?
Please.
Okay. So, I was blessed to come from a 2-parent household. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, as we would say in the South. Okay. Yes. And around 12 years old is when I said, I want to be a doctor. And my parents, educators, both of them educators, were like, we're educators. We're not doctors. You need to go find yourself around a doctor so you know if this is really what you want to do. And so I did. From the time I was 13 years old, I was able to be a part of Dr. Hicks' office in Huntsville, Alabama, and I got to see everything. He even took me on rounds when I got old enough. I actually went to his alma mater, Loma Linda University, got accepted in their early selection program. So I knew I was going there from my junior year in college. Check. So there's like these little boxes. You're checking off all the boxes, right? Got reacquainted with a college classmate. Y'all, I changed my seat to sit next to him in biochemistry class. But he was otherwise occupied at the time and was being a gentleman. So we didn't have a date. So I moved my seat back up to the front of the class to get my A. I was like, if I can't get an A, let me get my date. If I can't get a date, let me get my A. Okay. And so we got reacquainted, and he always says timing, Keisha, timing, divine timing is always right. And that's why we're here 22 years, 2 kids and a dog later. Okay.
I love it.
And I'm just like, checking off all the boxes. I get in my residency program. I'm in OBGYN. This is what I always said I wanted to do. But there are times in our lives that we will never forget. And for me, there are 2 dates, April 2nd, 2009, and then February 23rd, 2010. The first one is when we lost my father to complications from a stroke. And the next time, 10 short months later, my grandmother, complications from CHF. And because we were such a tight-knit family, it was like the rug had just been ripped from underneath us and we're all in free fall. And I remember at this point saying, okay, what's going on with life? I remember sitting on labor and delivery one night and my blood pressure was 110 over 160 over 110. And the nurses were like, do you need to go to the ER? And I was like, no, but Lord, I need an exit strategy because this isn't what I want to do anymore. I mean, my patients are now getting on my nerves. That's not me. I don't know what should I be doing? My body is changing. The stress has now changed my physiology. I'm exhausted. I'm gaining weight. Don't know why. I don't want to be intimate with my husband. And y'all, he's cute. I like him. Okay. And I'm just like, what is happening? So I took a step back and physician heal thyself, right? First. And I started diving into integrative medicine. And that was actually a natural transition because Loma Linda's motto is to make man whole. So we've always been taught from a perspective of looking at the whole person. Matter of fact, Loma Linda is one of the blue zones that is featured in that Netflix special of longevity. And so I was like, what should I be doing? Like, what is it? And really trying to understand how to help women, how to help myself. And that's when I started really understanding about hormones and how they change and how the body changes, and really starting to understand this new word in our lexicon called perimenopause, and how we now start, our bodies go through another, almost like adolescence, so to speak. And that's when I took a step back. And now I'm able to come into the world as Dr. LaKeischa, your international menopause whisperer. I help validate women's perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms, help them crack their hormone code, and then build their personal symptom solution blueprint.
All needed. I don't know how much you can help us crack today. But thank you in advance for the efforts that we're going to get through today. Absolutely. Friends, if you have questions, be sure to drop them down below. Why? Because when you have somebody that specializes in something, that's who you want to ask. I can ask somebody that's going through it, but I can ask somebody, I just want to know from a professional.
Okay.
You know, because that way we get that straight line. Like WebMD is going to mess us up, is what I'm saying. Because they don't really know us individually. They're doing like a brand, broader, and we need to be specific. So we're going to find out a little bit today. So the first thing you said was this perimenopause. How is that different from menopause?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. And I am such a teacher, y'all. So put your questions in the chat. Put them down there so that they can get answered. And if something resonates with you, please put a hands up, a clap, something. Let me know that this is resonating with you. So let's go to and build a foundation. Let's build the basics. So let's go to menopause first. We're going to start there. So menopause, the textbook definition of menopause is 12 consecutive months without a period. That's the textbook definition. I heard another doctor say on a podcast one time, she said, menopause is the only diagnosis that your doctor sends you away for a year and says, come back and then I'll give you the diagnosis. It's a retrospective or retroactive diagnosis. And the reason that we need to have this particular definition is because if you go 12 consecutive months, no period, you're not on any hormonal therapy, you're not on birth control pills, nothing in your system, and you have a what we call postmenopausal bleed, that needs to be evaluated to make sure you don't have endometrial cancer or uterine cancer. I'm not saying that a postmenopausal bleed automatically means that. I'm saying it has to be ruled out. So if you go 6 months and have a period, you got to start the clock over. If you go 9 months and have a period, you have to start the clock over. If you go 11 months, and I've had patients this has happened to, and you have a period, start the clock over because that definition is very, very serious. Okay. So now we have menopause. And remember, I did not say menopause meant hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness, right? I didn't say anything about those symptoms. It was 12 consecutive months. Perimenopause. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to take you into purgatory.
Right.
That's right. Let's breathe. Let's breathe through this. So perimenopause is where you can have a variety of different symptoms that show up because your hormones are starting to change. And the reason my hand is doing this is because your levels aren't going as high as they used to. They're dropping sooner than they used to. There's a beautiful graph I show when I give a talk to women about busting myths of perimenopause. And I show where the hormone levels, how they go up and down in this beautiful symphony during your regular menopause, doing your regular reproductive time of life. When you start having these doop-de-doos and loop-de-loos and everything's going all over the place, it shows up as real physiology. It can show up as joint pain. It can show up as night sweats or getting warm at night, the inability to get to sleep and stay asleep, itchy skin, itchy ears, starting to have phantom smells. Do you know there are over 100 different symptoms for perimenopause and menopause that women can experience?
We need another deep breath. We say over how many?
100 different symptoms. I call her one of my super friends. She is a menopause nutritionist out of Canada, Andrea Donsky, and she and her team they have done a survey of over almost 5,000 women, and they have written white papers, or what we call them. These are like review papers that get presented, and they have seen that there are 100 different symptoms. Now, perimenopause can last 5, 7, 10, 15 years before you go into that final menopause stage. And in the textbooks, it will say that perimenopause can be defined if your cycle changes by 7 days, meaning that your cycle comes closer together. So say you were 28 days, now it's 21 days, or it can be further apart. So you were 28 days, so now you're like, what, 30 some odd days, right? So that there is a shift in your cycle. That's what the textbooks say. But we know, integrative gynecologists, those that do hormone specialty, we know that your symptoms for hormonal changes show up in different ways. And it's not just the cycle.
Look, right. Over 100 symptoms is wild. And we're talking about the period allegedly possibly leaving, because if you're 11 months without it and it sneaks back up, it's back again. I feel like with the period, sometimes you got over 100 symptoms, so no, that doesn't leave.
Exactly. And it's almost like for some women an exacerbation, I should say, of their PMS symptoms, or women that never had PMS symptoms and all of a sudden start having it. Or and it is as if I say to patients all the time, I said, you feel like you woke up and missed a memo, don't you? Like you were left off the email chain. Like you woke up and your body was just like, surprise, I'm different. I'm not the body you went to sleep in yesterday. You woke up in a body you don't recognize. And they're like, yes. I'm like, you just want your body to obey you again. They're like, yes. And what I mean by that is, you remember if you're about to go do something, or you have a trip, or you have something coming up, you want to, you may want to drop off a pound or two or whatever. So, I just don't eat the sugar. I don't eat this. I don't eat that. Boom, boom, boom. Or I can go exercise. I can do this. And your body goes, okay. Oh, you want me to do this? Oh, okay. I'll do that. Now it's just like, what? You want me to do what? No, ma'am. Oh, you want me to get up out of the chair and you want your knees to not hurt? Oh, you want to go up steps? Oh, you want to go to the gym? You want to go no, not doing that anymore.
Oh, goodness. And, that's the part of aging that, we're all knowing is happening after you get past 30, 35, 40. That's that freckle pop, right? But the ladies, we seem to have something that continues to follow us. Exactly. So 2 questions. When does this season start and when does it end?
Okay, so tell me that you'll still be my friend. You will not stone the messenger, right? Okay.
So we're asking the professional, so we have to take what the professional says. You said you want to help us to have a slide, not a slam. So come on, we're ready.
Okay. We're ready. So you said, when does this start and when does it end?
Yes.
It can start as early as your late 30s. Women's progesterone and their testosterone levels have been shown to start decreasing in their late 30s, early 40s. How does this show up? It can show up in sleep changes. I have some women saying, all of a sudden, I can't get to sleep. I can't stay asleep. My brain just pops open in the middle of the night and it's like, bing, time to get up, time to go, or start having some temperature dysregulation at night. And it's so interesting. I'll have patients that come to me and they're like, I'm not having hot flashes. Let's just get that straight. But I'm feeling warm at night. Or I'm kicking that covers, kicking that foot out to regulate the temperature, you know? So it can start, like I said, as early as your late 30s, where you start having some discrepancies. Testosterone helps us to make lean muscle, and lean muscle is there to help with our metabolism. Testosterone even helps to protect our breast health from certain breast cancers. Testosterone helps our brain health. So, having that, why did I come in this room? I knew I was doing something. What's going on? We call it kind of, the brain fogs that kind of start creeping up. Do I have early onset dementia? Like, what is going on with me? Those type of things. Now, when does it stop? So I've stopped using the terminology postmenopausal.
Okay.
Because I felt and started hearing that when women used that term, they felt that they were done with something and that their body was going to snap back and go back to before that time.
Yeah, it doesn't do that high.
You're in this menopausal phase of life. Just like when you went into adolescence, you didn't like necessarily, when it was done, go back to pre-adolescence. When you're in the reproductive phase, it's not like, oh, I'm done with that and I'm going to go back to something else. So I say you're in this menopausal phase, and we know that you will spend a third of your life in this menopausal phase, which that's why I say, come to somebody like me so I can give you tools in your hormone hottie handbag that you can dip in and pull out and go, oh, this is what's happening with me now. I understand what's happening. This is the tool that I am choosing to use because it's going to work for me.
Got it. As I was hearing you saying, like taking off the cover to like normal out the heat or even things of the sort, I'm going to say it's summertime right now, right? And the heat has been dropping at night. That's why you got to take the cover off, friends.
Okay.
It gets hot.
Yes. I'll let you continue to feel that way.
Oh, she did. Oh, and she ran my parade. But this is good because like sometimes these things are happening. You're wondering like, is something going on? And it is something going on, but it's not necessarily always a bad thing. It's just this phase that we're moving into when you get to this age bracket and you think that you had already conquered that thing. And here it is again with 100 more symptoms saying, hey, that's Friday. And you don't want to party with them.
And if I can say this, Jennifer, everybody's symptom can be different. That is another reason why when women come to their doctors or they go to their practitioners and they say, well, this is what I'm experiencing now, it's not in a nice, neat little category between these two lines and I'm running down the checklist and I can go, oh, yes, you are, boom. It's messy. It's all over the place. It's different. It's personalized. And that's why you need somebody to be aware of this so that they can help you start connecting the dots. So that you can now say, okay, I just woke up the other day and this shoulder, reason I'm pointing at this shoulder, because I have frozen shoulder now. And I woke up and was like, wait, what? Like, really? I did nothing, absolutely nothing. But Dr. Vonda Wright and her team just published a paper called The Musculoskeletal Syndrome of Menopause. And so we know that when estrogen starts dropping, it can affect your joints. So how many of y'all started going to the doctor trying to get imaging, MRIs and all kind of stuff because this shoulder hurt or my elbow hurts or my knee hurts or my hips hurt or my ankles are hurt and nothing shows up?
Wow.
And this is why I have been saying for years, when I saw her paper and I saw her come out this last week or so, I was like, yes, I've been saying this for years, that I feel that a lot of the symptoms that we just lump and say, oh, you're getting old, you're over such and such age, welcome to the club, honey. It's that it is what it is, are symptoms of your hormones changing. And so now we need to start pulling all that together and giving women tools that they can use again, so they can glide into this time of life.
Got you. So men don't experience this at all?
Say that again.
Do men experience this at all? I mean, I want to share. I want to keep everyone's house.
I want to share. Yeah, men go through andropause, is what it's called. And
tell me more.
It's where their testosterone levels start dropping. Wow. Men and women both have testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone, just at different levels. And some of our testosterone, both men and women, turns into a little bit of estrogen. Estrogen is really important in our mood, in our brain health. It helps with our ability to regulate ourselves even. So that's why I say there's a certain type of estrogen that for women, when it starts going down, I said, that's the filter coming down. That's the one that just takes the filter off of everything. And that's why everything just starts coming out of our mouths and showing up on our faces. And we're just like, I do not care anymore. Right. But for men, they go through andropause. And so they get to be little cranky old men too, you know.
Okay, I guess it's nice to know we're not in this alone.
You're not, but ours is different. Ours, because we are so wonderfully and made, and we have so many different buttons. Like we have a lot of different buttons and levers. And so what has happened over the years, women have been excluded from the research and from studies because of our cycles, because they were not able to confine this variable, because at one point your estrogen's high, at another point your cycle, your estrogen's low. We can't account for that. So we'll just extrapolate what we do for men to women. And we're finding that's just not the way that this works.
Gotcha. So I love that you're in this field. I love that you're so knowledgeable. What caused you to go into this field? Like, what was it about? It was like, this is what I want to do. This is it.
So going back to that initial story, my mother, who's an educator, she was an educator for college. She is a college professor and, helped with kids in college. She was actually volunteering for a community center at the time. And they were helping moms, new moms, to help them with understanding how to help, them with their new babies and things like that. And I remember her bringing home this video called The Miracle of Life. And so y'all, I'm dating myself. I popped it in the VCR and I turned it on and I watched this thing, and it ended with a live birth. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, you can do that for people. Like, you can be there at that point in time and help somebody do that. I was like, that's what I want to do. And I didn't even know what it was called. I didn't even know it was called obstetrician, gynecologist. I just said, I want to deliver babies. I want to do that. And so that's when I said, when I was able to start being exposed to the medical field. Now, going through medical school, I did change my mind when you were on your rotations. And if you had a great experience, I had an awesome experience for child and adolescent psychiatry. I had an awesome experience for I think it was even urology at one point. I was thinking of doing, and then I would always come back to my first love, which was women's health, being able to stand in the gap for women, help us understand what's going on with our bodies. And I just, of course, had a natural relation. I was relating. I was with my cohorts. I was either, a young doctor and a young woman, and then I became a young mother, and now I'm in the fight with y'all. So I have Confessions of a Menopausal Doctor. And so that is really what has driven this, is that I really love women's health and being able to help women get tools and empower them so they feel seen and heard.
I like it. So let me go back to these 100 symptoms.
Just like skip over that.
I can't get over it. So because it's 100, there's a lot of different things that could fall in that category. So what are some things that we would not think are related to it that are in that 100?
So some people have dry eyes. All of a sudden you start having dry eyes. And
Is that the allergies?
not necessarily.
Wow.
You go to your ophthalmologist or optometrist and they do a thorough eye exam. They don't see anything on the cornea, no scratches, no abrasions. And you're just like, I can't produce any more tears. Like, I am just dry. It feels sandy. That could be because your testosterone's falling.
Wow.
Or so that's one of the things. Ringing in the ears, that tinnitus that some people start getting, or itchy ears, just like, oh, my ears just itch, or just your skin itching. Decreased libido. So that's one that we really have to talk about a lot. That whole sex drive, just like almost like it just leaves, like it's just like sucked out of you. And you're like, this is not me. Like, what is going on? I remember that being one of my symptoms. And I thought it was grief. And yes, there was a complexity to it. But after I was able, with therapy and going through therapy and peel back these layers, I was like, there's something else. I got my labs tested and I had no measurable testosterone in my bloodstream. I remember calling my husband and going, oh, I know what's wrong with me. And I'm so excited. Like, I know what to do, right? And you can even have thinning of your hair around the hair texture changing, having to use different products for your skin changes. Going back to libido. I've talked about this on other podcasts and other shows where your partner's touch even feels different because your skin has changed, because your estrogen levels have changed. And so now when they come and they rubbing up on you and you're like, that doesn't feel good. And now you really need to be communicative because they could take it as, oh, you just don't want it anymore. Like, what's going on? And this is where communication comes in, because when we talk, there was a small little study I read years ago that said when women talk to their partners or significant others about the symptoms that they're having in perimenopause and menopause, the intensity of those symptoms tend to decrease significantly. And they find solutions faster.
Wow.
And it could just be, hey, I've unloaded this. Now my brain's open. I can get this other information in, or somebody else is actually helping me to get better. They found something. They're like, hey, I heard about this, or, do you want to try this? And it becomes a partnership. And it's not just you got to find something to help you out.
Oh, goodness, Fran, this is so good. So many of these symptoms sound like they could be overlooked for sure, because, your itchy eyes, you'll think that it's allergies, your ear being itchy and things, you just think it's wax in there. You need to make an appointment to get your ear, drained and things of that sort. Your arm, your shoulder, you just feel like you slept wrong, you laid on it wrong, you hit it and didn't know. Wow.
Absolutely. And what is happening is a lot of women are going to other providers because it is their area of expertise. Like, so they may go to the orthopedist, they may go to their primary care doctor. And because medicine is a system of problem based, and it's like, okay, I need to address this problem. We've gotten so good at dismembering the body and kind of taking you apart. We don't put you back together and go, wait a minute, this is a closed loop system. This system needs to work together.
It goes to that piece of the connecting the dots where, like, though you think it's just like, in your car, something could be going wrong, but it's something bigger than what the initial thing was. You thought it was because you didn't have any gas. No, you also need this and that. Now I'm a mechanic, so I'm not going to throw stuff out there. I go to the mechanics and let them do what they do, But that's the thing, like, really having somebody that's also well versed to know that, though I do see that, this is another list that we, explore to find out if there's some other things going on beyond just this.
Exactly.
Okay. Whew. All right. Let me try to put the brakes on this ride a little bit.
Okay.
Because we overwhelmed with these 100 symptoms still. Okay. Let me go to Fran's question, then I'll go to my next question. She said, here we go. Should we ask to have our testosterone levels checked at a certain age or something?
Oh, that's a great question. And this is part of so the first thing that I talk about in helping you ways to glide into perimenopause is busting the myth that it's an age related type only. And so that's why I talk about it's really hormonal changes, and it can happen as early as your 30s, right? The next thing, number 2, is a lot of women go, okay, what test? What is the one test? It's not just one test. Okay. So there can be a collection of tests, and it's different ways to test. So there's urine testing, there's serum testing is what it's called, or everybody's used to going getting your blood drawn, or there's saliva testing. And the person that you go to, you can ask them, how do you test hormones? And when you say hormones, you have to be specific, because we're one big bag of hormones. Okay. So you say, how do you test the sex hormones? How do you test the adrenals? How do you test, my thyroid, because thyroid is another thing that has to be tested too during this time. And so I wouldn't necessarily say just look at your testosterone levels and at a certain age. And the standard of care is not to just check it to get a baseline, which should probably change, but that's a whole nother story.
Okay.
But being able to go and maybe do a urine test to look at the metabolites of testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone, or do a serum testing or a blood draw to see what's in the levels that are available in the bloodstream for testosterone or for your cortisol. I'm doing a saliva test to look at your cortisol throughout the day, because each of these types of testing look at different areas that when you pull it all together, and that's what I've decided to do for my ladies, is I pull together urine, blood, and saliva to be able to get a better picture, to be able to help you crack your hormone code.
Got it. So is this a question we ask our OBGYN or our primary care physician?
You can ask either one. Yeah, both. Okay. And some of them will say, okay, so which ones do you want tested? And that's why I say you have to be very specific. So you can tell them, can you test my FSH, which is follicle stimulating hormone? You can ask them to test your estradiol or estrone. Those are 2 types of estrogen. You can ask them to test your progesterone. And if you want them to test your testosterone, ask them to test for free and total testosterone. Okay. And then that could be a starting point for you.
Got it. Good to know. Good to know. Whew. All right. Ask the doctor to test all these rounds and see if you good.
Exactly.
Okay. So, Dr. LaKeischa, you are an author as well. So your book is The Other PMS, Your Survival Guide for Premenopause and Menopause.
Yes.
How did that book come about?
So that book was born out of, actually I was working with a coach. And this is where I was trying to figure out, how do I want to show back up in the world of medicine? And this is when he kind of actually was like, your first love, which is women's health, because I was being Jonah, y'all. I'm gonna have to be honest. I thought I was done when I was having that existential, questioning and wondering. I was like, well, maybe it's not women's health anymore. Maybe I need to go somewhere else. And he was like, no, this is your calling. This is where you need to go. And so we started sitting down, and I was already helping women get their hormones balanced. He was like, it's right here in front of you. Like, this is it. And so as I was contemplating what to encapsulate all of this and how to call it, I actually coined the phrase the other PMS, because I was like, everybody knows about premenstrual syndrome, PMS, but what about the other PMS, perimenopause, menopause survival? We don't talk about that at all. And so I wanted to put together this little survival guide that could be helpful, almost like a doc in your pocket.
Got you. So the word survival in the book title makes me a little nervous. But also puts to the point that it is a piece of survival, of knowing like what's going on so that you can survive. Can we talk about that piece? Because that can be scary. Sometimes we don't like to go to the doctor because you're going to tell me something that I don't want to hear. You're going to tell me that 100 symptoms come with this. All right, I'm going to let it go. But really, like, there's a piece of like, you have to do this for your well-being. You want to make sure you're checking this out, getting whatever test you need. Can we talk about that part for a second? Because, we get scared.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. We get scared. And I mean, rightly so. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room, where medicine has not always been a comforting place for people of color. And so we have to address that. And we have to be very transparent with that and understand that. And so that's why I said, hey, let me get this little pocket guide out in the world and have it be as if you're sitting on the couch talking to your girlfriend who just happens to be a doctor. So I can pull back the curtain and say, hey, this is what's going to happen, guys. This is the physiology that's changing, and give you back power so that you can glide through this. So having the pocket guide, having the book just gives you information, and it does it in a non-scary way. So it's almost like in a conversational tone, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, girl, let me tell you what happened to me. Okay, so these are some things that you need to, look into.
Oh, goodness. Thank you so much. You could, get the book by visiting Keep that page, and the rest of the line of that is there. If you have an iPhone, you can screenshot the page, this page, and then it'll let you copy the link so that you can purchase this book, because we need the survival guide. Sounds like, because we want to survive it, friends, and want to have the information to know what to do to best help us to be empowered with it.
Yes.
Ooh. So I think I just had 2 more questions. 2 more, because I'm overwhelmed. On this Friday. Not a bad thing. Okay. We really do need this knowledge. It really is important to know these things. And if you're not going through this, or you're not near the age bracket yet, be sure to share this with someone else, because they're like, my hair is thinning. This is happening. I'm overwhelmed, upset, frustrated, irritated, agitated, beyond what the period symptoms gave us. So, be sure to share this. So when I was reading your bio, it said that your unique blend of medical expertise and personal experience empowers women to help their bodies obey again, leading to a snatched waist, sharp minds, and the best sex they ever had. Tell us more.
So in helping you crack your hormone code, what happens then is that I'm able to go with you now and build a symptom solution blueprint. And I do that through my Hormone Hottie Reset bundle. And that's where I'm able to get more information after you've taken your hormone quiz and we've started to crack your hormone code, and start diving into the personalization of your treatment plan. So what that does is it takes that urine test, it takes that serum test, it even takes a poop test. I have you do a poop test because I got to look at that gut hormone connection, and looking at your thyroid, pulling that all together and saying, this is now a picture of you. And how are we going to make sure that you are now balanced? Is it because your adrenal glands are out of balance? Is it because your estrogen detoxification process is not the best, which is how you actually process estrogen? Do you need certain vitamins that are necessary for your body to actually do the reactions to help with your hormone metabolism? Does your thyroid need to be adjusted and optimized? So this is how I'm able to start building that solution blueprint for you, so that you can start feeling like yourself again, and you can have all that juicy good stuff that we just talked about.
Got it. It's interesting. I had to have a sonogram of my thyroid. I had to get it checked one time, right? And as I was laying, I was like, this is not the first time how I thought my first sonogram would be of my neck. I'm not blessed with children yet. If it happens, whatever like that. Right. But like you said, it's so important for us to be up on it. So if something's going on, you get it fixed and checked out, and be aware, so that you know how to respond differently to what's going on in life.
Exactly.
There was so much here today. Friends, if you have a question or comment, be sure to drop it down below. Again, be sure that you are sharing. This is much needed information. We can follow Dr. LaKeischa, because I'm sure she probably posting this on her page too, to stay in our business but keep us in the know. And we need it, right? So you can follow it at Dr. LaKeischa MD, because this is some good information.
Thank you.
Yeah. So a hormone specialist. Let's go to the 3 big myths. What are the 3 big myths?
So the first big myth is perimenopause and menopause. You have to be a certain age to be going through it. So that's big myth number 1. And that's why I say it's a physiological change. It is a change in your hormone levels, and that can happen as early as your late 30s. Okay. And so when you start feeling different, you have to be an advocate and go and make sure that you're getting your questions answered. If you go to the first person and it didn't quite work out for you and you really didn't get the answers that you really wanted, find somebody else, talk to girlfriends, talk to somebody, look for somebody that says, hey, I do this. I'm a hormone specialist. I can actually really help you out. The second myth is that there is one test. I have women that say, I went and asked my doctor to test me for menopause. I was looking for the test. There's not one test. That's why I said there's a myriad of tests. You can ask them which form they use, how do they test, what do they test, so that they can know how to help you. So it's a myriad of different modalities that somebody can use and decide, okay, this is what I'm comfortable interpreting, and this is what I do with the information I get. And then myth number 3 is that I really don't have to be concerned about my gut. I don't have to be concerned about my stomach, how I'm digesting stuff, but there is a gut hormone connection. So that's why I check the poop now. I look to see if your bacteria makeup in your gut, we call it the gut microbiome. You know, we love big words in medicine. It just makes us feel good. So your gut microbiome, it is all the little bacteria that should be in the large intestines. Make sure that they are there in the right amount, making sure those that are in the small intestines stay in the small intestines and don't find their way into the neighborhood of the large intestines. And so those are the 3 big myths that I tackle with women and say, hey, yes, it's not an age. If I had $1 for every time somebody came to me and said their doctor said they were too young, I wouldn't be here on WGO today. Okay. Yeah, I'd be on an island slipping a pina colada. Okay. And number 2, making sure that you know what test you're asking for, how they're testing you, and what they're looking for. And then really knowing that your gut plays a big role in this.
Oh, goodness. So, friends, because I hope that we are scheduling our appointments as we should to get checked up and checked out, make sure that when you go again that you ask these questions. And it's really important when you're, they'll put the sign like on the door, like, ask your questions now, because if you leave, they may or may not ask questions. They may charge you another fee because you're going back to the doctor again on some time that wasn't your time. So when you had that hour appointment, use all 59 minutes and 59 seconds to ask all the questions that you have, because again, we can look it up and Google it and we'll find something and it doesn't correlate with us specifically. So we want to make sure that we are, to the best of our ability, finding out from the professional what's going on. Yes. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you do want us to know about?
I just want to know, I want to give your audience a freebie, if that's okay. So if you want to start cracking your hormone code, you can go to hormonequiz.co. That's hormonequiz.co. and take your quiz and start cracking your hormone code. And once you take your quiz and you get your feedback, get your results, go ahead and make that consult visit with me. It's a virtual consult visit at talkhormones.com so that we can start going through that information and build your symptom solution blueprint.
Hormonequiz.co.
Yes.
We can find out how many of the 100 we got. I think but really, you might find out, right? But then also, again, having that conversation. So that's pretty cool. So friends, go ahead and check that out. Be sure to follow Dr. LaKeischa because she is helping us. And I appreciate it too, because like you said, in the Black and brown community, it can be a little different. We've getting supports that we needed regarding different things. We are strong, but we are still human.
Yes.
We do still bleed. We do still cry.
Yes.
And yes. I'll never forget one time I went to the doctor and she was like, well, if it could persist. I said, ma'am, I didn't come until it was bad because I've been surviving it the best I knew how. I came because I no longer can take this anymore. So being able to advocate for ourselves. And if you take this quiz, even taking these results to your doctor to like talk through them and learn more about what's going on with you.
Absolutely.
Cool. This was good. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking with you too. Like I said, you have to tell me it's time to go.
Yes. Well, I should have told you it was time to go when you told us about the 100. But I mean, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. But friends, Swag Car Community, we thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube so that you always know what's going on. Be sure to follow Dr. LaKeischa because she's gonna tell us what we need to know about our bodies. And sorry guys, y'all got it too. You might want to take the quiz so you can know. Welcome to this phase of life. Because we're not alone.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
But until next time, y'all have an amazing day, amazing weekend. Thank you again so very much, Dr. LaKeisha. Thank you. And see y'all.